Well, hello there, class, and welcome to, I guess we're now in the middle of the first week of Unit 3. Believe it or not, we are over a quarter of the way through the semester, which is just crazy to think about. But you've made it, you've hung in there, you've survived. Nice work to you. I do hope the semester has gone well so far. I know that school and the like can be busy. And I'm sure that you are feeling the effects of all of life and family and home life and school. And, for many of you, work, whether it's part-time, full-time, it's practicum, it's internships, it's the whole 9 yards, homework, it's books, it's church, it's everything going on, and finding time to rest. I know the challenges that come with that. So I hope overall it's been a successful semester for you thus far. As I think about this class, and I think about you, and I think about the content and kind of where we are, where we're headed, where we've been, one of my hopes is that, and I guess I find myself saying this every semester, my hope is that you would be able to find this course specifically to be almost a bit of a respite, in kind of a strange sort of way to put it, but I do hope that's something that you can experience. I realize that the content that we're looking at in this class is very different than everything else in the rest of the program. Some of you, you're going to complete the 66 units, and then you may look at this as an elective course, so it's an extra course that you've taken, so you're looking at 69 units total for the degree, and then to get this class to qualify for dual licensure. Some of you have taken this as an elective, so you're choosing not to take another class, so you're just doing the 66. Whatever the reason you're here, and I know you've shared a number of those reasons why you're taking the class in your introductions, but you're taking the class, and it's not like anything else, right? It's career counseling. It's career development theories and techniques related. It's not marriage and family therapy related. And so a lot of you are going, probably even still like, why am I in this class? And I hope that what you're finding is great value, first of all, to think about how will I use this professionally? And then I hope that you would be thinking and finding great value in this course from a personal standpoint. So considering what does it mean to you personally, given the fact that, while you are getting this degree and your pursuits are, the question of what's your dream job, and many of you said my dream job is to be a therapist. Many of you are pursuing the very thing that you're, quote-unquote, dreaming to be or to do. But some of you are in a place where you're starting to consider, at least entertain questions, I guess I'd say, as far as, what am I doing, right? Is this the right thing? I know a number of friends, and I'm not trying to discourage by any means, but a number of friends that, and colleagues and former students even, that have done the MA in clinical psychology with the emphasis in marriage and family therapy, and they end up going into completely different fields of work, right? I have a friend that worked in financial aid for years at a community college after having completed this very program. So I don't want to, say that our students don't end up that route, but I think that probably for many of you, you're going through this process of kind of asking questions and wondering, okay, what am I going to do with this? Especially as you get closer to the end and you're completing your 250 hours during the program and so forth, and you're looking and staring down really the reality of an additional 2,750 of hours to complete before you're fully licensed. Those are some big questions, and so many students will say, yes, this is what I want to do, and they're going to, they're committed to those hours, and they are plugging along and they're making it happen. And others are, looking at, I'm going to do this a little bit, slower, and I'm going to consider some other options. So some of the things that I always want to encourage folks to consider is potentially doing career coaching, career counseling. Some of the things that I consider, or at least encourage folks to consider, is doing executive coaching. In fact, the Wall Street Journal, I think it was, just maybe a day or two ago, had an article where it talked about how there's this, I can't remember the name of the TV show, but there's some show that's on where they've depicted an executive coach, and I think it's a positive. I'm not sure, but I'm an executive coach. I'm in the middle of multiple executive coaching relationships even right now, and they were talking about how there is this line that's sometimes blurred between executive coaches and therapists and counselors, and that's not always the appropriate thing. And so, in fact, some of the challenges that I run into that I definitely steer away from, but I can see kind of as I'm heading in certain directions, is that people are looking to me to kind of serve the purpose of a counselor rather than a career coach. And so I have to be careful from an ethical standpoint, from a how am I trained and prepared to do this work standpoint, to say, this isn't something that I'm trained to do, or this is not my wheelhouse, right? I'm really focused on career. And so that's one of the arguments that's been made for why MFTs, why LPCs are actually really, in some ways, even better equipped to do this work because they have a background in asking questions and listening and so forth. So you're going to start your first exercise this week, and one of the things that you're going to be asked to do is to consider the skills, the traits, the talents, the things that you bring to the table within this realm of work that are potentially transferable. And I want us to do these exercises personally because I think it's always helpful for you to be able to say when working with a client, hey, I did this, right? So as you have to go through your 40 hours of personal counseling while you're in the program, to be able to tell clients like, hey, I've been there. I've done this myself. It's actually been really helpful and beneficial for me. I forked out the cash, right? I paid for this. I took my hard-earned money and covered the cost. So I know I was invested in this. I've done this. And so the encouragement can, I think, sometimes mean even more coming from someone who's experienced it. Well, now you have an opportunity to experience these exercises and to think about not just how would you use these with clients, but how would you think about this personally, and to be able to kind of from firsthand experience talk about that with clients. So the exercises are great. I think you'll enjoy this one. The case studies are great. I mentioned, I think this last time, I'm not going to grade your case study responses on right or wrong, but really, did you actually do what was asked of you? Were you thorough and thoughtful? Because your response is going to be very different than my response. Your approach, though, is going to be, it's going to be as much as you can be, as steeped in what you've learned, to be thinking, did you actually approach this by way of what you've learned so far in the class and even from your background as a counselor and so forth. So it really is kind of, it's not a pass-fail, obviously, but it's you're going to get out of it from a grade standpoint what you put into it. So if it's obvious that you have really thought, there were some incredible responses to the case last unit. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing to read your responses and how thoughtful you were and how thorough you were and how, I would even say, detailed and specific you were. It was so encouraging. So thank you for that. I'm just always so grateful for the commitment that students show to the content of the learning in this class. It really does make a difference. And it makes even my job getting to kind of facilitate the learning experience in this course so much more enjoyable, because I go, man, these students are awesome because they're thinking so deeply about the content. So keep up the good work. It's very noticed, and it's really something that makes what I get to do in grading and reading things even more enjoyable. So thanks for that. So we have another case study this week, our first exercise. The other thing you'll be jumping into is the LipTAC text. So you're going to be looking at kind of intake and different things that come with that. And part of this assignment you can see in the syllabus, and the details are there in the assignment itself. By the end of this first week of the unit, I think it is, you will be reading the assigned chapters, and then you'll be writing 3, 2, 1. Okay, so three major takeaways that you got from the reading and LipTAC. Okay, 2 questions you still have that I will then respond to and give some answers to a number of those questions, and then 1 actionable item. So what's something that you read in the text today, or whenever it is you read it, that you could literally put into practice tomorrow, right? So not just this theoretical idea, but this is very actionable. I read it today. If I had the opportunity to do so, I could put it into practice tomorrow. Okay, so 3 takeaways, 2 questions, 1 actionable item. Okay, I hear from students all the time that this reading, this text, this assignment is actually very helpful and one of the more, if not most, enjoyable aspects of the kind of regular kind of cadence of the course experience requirements that they have in this class itself. So I think you'll find that to be enjoyable. So case study, exercise, and then you have your LipTAC 3, 2, 1. You've got reading, of course, and then you have your Schwen and Bass response and discussion. So what I saw this last unit was really great. I'm continuing to be so, once again, grateful to have these, these moments of, I wasn't sure about this, but I read this and, oh my goodness, it was so life-giving or so kind of encouraging or challenging, or I love how they said this, or I'm not sure if I like what they said here. this is very different reading, right? It's this idea of we can't talk about the whole of career development if we don't yet talk about vocation and calling. And I think Schwen and Bass and those that they've brought together to form, this great text have done a really, I think, thoughtful, thorough, and wonderful job explaining some really kind of complex and yet just restful, right? Just like, oh my goodness, it just feels good in my soul to read this content. And I guess that's what I was saying at the beginning. I really want this to be a class where you feel like it's almost a respite. It's just it's peaceful. It's encouraging to your soul. It's challenging to your soul. It's challenging to the way you think. It's challenging to maybe even flex or exercise different muscles of your brain that the rest of your curriculum maybe doesn't call for you to flex, so to speak. But I hope that you kind of settle in. When I teach a face-to-face class, I always tell students, I want you to want to be in this class. I want you to actually look forward to, even if it's a night class, I want you to look forward to being here in class. I say that out loud. And I think the same thing here. I want you to look forward to digging into the content and working on the assignments and thinking through things. I've already seen so much attention to detail. You've really been helpful in kind of asking thorough questions. And, hey, I saw this was off, or, hey, can you tell me why this isn't here? I just want to make sure even the respect level, it's just so, even I got an email this week, help me understand if I'm understanding your thought process correctly. And I was like, wow, that's such a great way to ask the question. So thank you for what you've offered. I feel like as I learn, or as you learn, I learn with you. And so it's been a really enjoyable process so far for me, and I hope the same for you. So I hope you have a great time with the content. Any questions, feel free to reach out via email. I'll make sure to get right back to you. And I look forward to engaging in conversation and reading the conversations that y'all engage in with each other, reading your responses to the case studies and kind of seeing how you think about this exercise. But have a great time this unit. Just soak it up. I mean, look at this as an opportunity to just learn something new, to soak it up and make the most of a great learning experience. So, and if I can do anything to make your learning experience more enjoyable, easier, more fun, and so forth, please feel free to reach out and ask. The answer is always no if you don't ask. You got a 50% chance I might say yes if you do. So have a great week, have a great unit, and I look forward to seeing all of you online.